I'm a total sucker for this symbol. When I first found this, I was like, this is familiar as hell. What is this? And I would like read into it, and it would just make so much sense. But pretty much the idea here is big mind, or source, or God, or Pleiadian space penguins, whatever you want to say, is at the source all the way up here. And we are here. That is the map, this moment, this physical manifestation. And the path that it gets to here is through 10 spheres called Sephiroth or Spherot, excuse my pronunciation. And the Spherot are emanations of God or the source or the Big Bang or whatever. I'm going to use the word source, I think. And they're the best way to like look at it is it's kind of like a fountain, and each one is like a vessel. And the vessel like receives the energy and then transmits it to the next thing. All right, so we're going to create a universe. So we start with that big mind experience in some way. I'm not saying that the big mind is all the way up here, but like we start in this place of infinite kind of nothingness in a way. It's called the Ein Sof Or, and there are 3 veils. I haven't put them here, but there's 3 veils of nothingness. The first one is Ein, which means nothing, and then Ein Sof, which means, well, Ein is like nothing, and then Ein Sof is like limitless nothing. So nothing without limit. And then Ein Sof Or is nothingness without limit with light. So it's like light expanded everywhere. Now this stuff is really abstract, and it's weird because it's far up on the tree. So if it doesn't make sense, it's okay. So this light compresses itself into the monad, or the Pythagorean monad, or the Kabbalistic Keter, which is the crown. It means crown. It's the Godhead. It is the top. And what happens with Keter? It says something. It goes into Hokma, which is number 2. Hokma is the will of the universe, and it stands for wisdom, but also the idea of force and the sacred masculine. So when I said before about the word, bet, bird, but bird is the word. Oh, I didn't say that before. But this is Hokma, this is expansion, so it's force. Now, that alone would just go into nothingness. So we need something to give it form, right? We need the yin and the yang. We need the hot and the cold. So we have Bina, which is the sacred feminine, that immediately arises out of that for something to exist. Remember I was going on before about 0 equals 2, 0 equals plus 1, minus 1, so that things can exist. So we have the plus 1 here, we have the minus 1 here, and we have the 0 in the middle. We have a battery. This can also be proton, neutron, electron. I really want to, like, I didn't get into... So this is Keter, this is Hokma, and this is Bina. If you want it's English, it would be crown, wisdom, and then understanding. Yeah. And then from here, this kind of creates Absolute, or the archetypal world, if you want to map it out that way. You can kind of map out the worlds. I'll get to this in a minute. The worlds are mapped out depending on your style. A common way to map them out is to have Absolute, to do it by triad. And now why a triad? Well, triangles are cool. Also, apparently our chakras are apparently actually triangles. They're just spinning really fast. Triangles are also very stable. You know, engineers love triangles. And also the 0 equals 2 idea, the neutral, the positive, and the negative. I mean, if you think we have 3 gunas in the Bhagavad Gita, we have 3 alchemical properties in alchemy. We have the salt, the sulfur, the mercury. So we like 3. But remember, no one number is better than another. But 3 is cool. So we have our supernal triad. This is called the supernals. And this is where we all want to eventually get to. That's the idea. So another couple things here. Keter is a crown. 2 is Hokma, which is like expansion. 3 is time itself, but not time phenomenally, like not literally experiencing time, the idea of time. So it's connected with Saturn. That's another thing. The Hermetists and the Kabbalists, the Q Kabbalists, not the K Kabbalists, they mixed in tarot, astrology, a bunch of other stuff. This is Saturn, and what did Saturn do in the Greek and the Roman myth? He ate all of his children. So the idea here is we will be devoured by, I mean this in the best way possible, we're going to be devoured by Saturn and reabsorbed into the one. That's the idea. What is that snake that eats itself? The Ouroboros. Yeah, I love the Ouroboros. Yeah, it's very like that. Yep, totally. And then from here, we do manifest in the physical world. Not quite matter yet, but kind of. So this is Hesed, and Hesed is the number 4, so 4 legs on a table. It's Jupiter as well. Jupiter is expansive and Jupiter connects to kings and queenly and royal big deities. And then we go into Geburah, number 5, which is severity, which is motion in the ocean, sun in the sky. So the motion of number 5 allows for number 4 to change. Because without number, and notice how number 4 is reflecting number 2 and number 5 is reflecting number 3. 5 is reflecting form, 4 is reflecting force. See, it all reflects above, it's all connected. So 5 comes in and gives motion, which is also the challenges in our lives, the severity, to allow for change to exist. This is Mars and this is Jupiter. And then they come together for number 6 in a place called Club Tiferet. Club Tiferet is where Jesus and Buddha and Osiris be hanging out all the time, and it's where our higher selves are, and it is the harmony of the whole system. It is the heart of the Tree of Life, and it's kind of like the big intersection, so to speak. It's the sun. So this is the harmony of both of these, of stability and change. Then we go into Netzach, which is, so this triangle is kind of the ethical triangle, or maybe it's Bria. Again, it depends how you map it out. But it's like another plane. So the next plane is kind of our personality in a way. The 7 is Venus, which is Netzach, which means endurance or victory, and it is the ability of the universe to keep going. It is the ability of an individual to move on its own. That's a very large idea, but yeah. It's also our emotions and our feelings and our artistic senses and our ability to continue something. It's our ability to dance, to create, to be in the flow, to keep moving, to have passion. And Venus is our planet of love, obviously, so that's connected in here as well. And that is immediately balanced by Hod, number 8, which is the mind and the intellect, which is in some ways the opposite of that. The ability of the mind to separate things, to organize things, to put things into language. So it's more about, again, an idea of form. It reflects the top. By the way, there's these 3 pillars here: the pillar of neutrality, the pillar of force, and the pillar of form. And so it's constantly balancing itself. It's like this perfect system. So number 8, Hod, we have the mind, and that's Mercury. So all the messenger gods hang out there. I don't know a lot of them personally. The only one I know is Hermes, and just like gods that bring messages to other gods or that travel between worlds. Also gods that are considered psychopomps. So a psychopomp is like Anubis, for example, that goes between the world of the living and the dead. Yeah, the traveler gods, the connecting gods and goddesses. There's a whole slew of gods and goddesses connected to all of these. You can, yeah. Or just communication itself. Yeah. Oh, Hod. So this is number 8. Yeah, so this balances Netzach. So it's kind of like mind and emotion together. Your head and your heart in a way. And again, this stuff is going to change depending on you and how you use the Tree of Life and depending on who you ask. And it also changes between Hermetic versus the Jewish Qabalah. In the Jewish Qabalah, 7 is more of like your individualizing nature as you assert like sovereignty as a conscious being, and 8 is more like submitting to something bigger. Those are the ideas here. So these 2 come together and they create 9, which is the foundation, which is the astral plane, the foundation of our universe, dreams. There's also the subconscious, the autonomic nervous system. And what does that do? It runs the body, which is right here in Malkuth. So 9 is Yesod, which is the moon, dreams, all that good stuff. And then we have Malkuth down here, which is the physical body, this very moment, and matter, and is known as the kingdom, which is connected to Earth. So you can do a lot of crazy stuff with this tree. Like you can map out the entire body. You can go like, okay, body, okay, autonomic nervous system, and then you could be like, okay, brain, and then you could be like, there's all these different systems. I've seen it mapped out. It's pretty brilliant. You can see how they all work together. You could look at it cosmically. And by the way, because the universe is fractal, at least in this way of looking at things, you can take this and put it on anything. How do you work it in a magical ritual form? Love that. Great question. So how do you work it in a magical ritual form? So well, there's a couple ways. Maybe if there's time, we can I can actually show you some stuff. But I would say the biggest way, and at the same time, the most immediate remote way in this plane to work with the Tree of Life, the easiest way that is practical, and it's still spiritual, but the least, I would say, epic way, which is also in some ways the coolest way, is to use it as a filing cabinet for associations. So for example, let's say let's say you want to hex your ex. Well, you're going to go into number 5, and that's Geburah, which is Mars. So you're going to invoke Mars and everything Mars is associated with. I'm not saying do that, but like Mars is the challenges, Mars is breakups. I mean, Mars can be also very healing. You know, I've totally used the tree to like integrate negative experiences with Mars, because what does Mars in number 5 do? It changes things. It takes things away. You know, if you're trying to get money, you'll go into Chesed, and you'll look into all the associations there, Jupiter, Zeus. There's a working called the Fortuna working, which I honestly don't know much about, but magicians do it for money and stuff, fame. So associations is one. You can actually, there's something called pathworking. You can do this with tarot or without tarot, and it's pretty much you meditate with the card. You go into the card and experience the entire card, and the scene will kind of bring you onto these different paths on the Tree of Life, and the idea is you can actually travel between different Sephiroth. And like the magician's path is supposed to be like the reverse of this. So you would start here in Malkuth, and you go and go all the way up there.
So you would say that each one can also be like its own alternate dimension that we can tap into per se, or even vibration?
Yes, one perspective would say yes. Depends how you look at it. I kind of, the way that if you kind of go into a little bit of the older stuff, it's more like each one exists in the one before it. So they're all in this moment right now. Like we don't have to like leave this reality to get there, but we can access, like Malkuth is in here, this is in here, this is in here. So it's kind of like the ascension. It's kind of like a roadmap of mystical ascension, so to speak. So I might like, if there's like a Zen master who's like, for all intents and purposes, woke AF, maybe he's like up here or up here, hanging out here. But you can also look at it like that. You know, I think in the Renaissance, they maybe thought that like literally like you wanted to get to that next planet. So that could be a way, that could be a reality.